Chapter 15. Naomi. Emotions are a complex thing. I'm happy to be home. I'm ecstatic my exam is over, especially as I'm confident it went well. I'm overjoyed that I get to spend a few days with Rebecca. Yet, in amongst all these happy emotions, there is also a twist of disappointment. Lewis isn't here. He didn't get in touch to tell me he had to go home. There was no text, there was no note. The lack of direct contact almost feels like a breakup. I would be quite happy not to daydream about Lewis, yet my subconscious keeps teasing me with memories of our time in Eden Cove. In the privacy of my room, Rebecca sat cross-legged on the camp bed, a sparkle in her eyes. So, spill the beans about this boy. Ellen is my best friend, and I can and do tell her everything. But with Rebecca, it's different. She understands me in a way no one else does. She knows how I process and work my way through issues. She doesn't judge me, but she will push me out of my comfort zone, which she does a lot. She giggled at the little blush creeping over my cheeks. I like him, Bex. And I missed him when I was in Reading. We had a sweet moment together before I left for my exam. A moment full of promise. Or maybe I read too much into it. I shrugged and played with the edge of my duvet cover. You know me, I've been double guessing myself. Right now, I don't even know if we're friends. Rebecca grinned. It's such a shame he had to go to Nottingham. I've missed my chance to meet him and give my take on him. I laughed as she pulled a silly face. But enough about my confusions. What is the deal with this job offer at Braid Hope? I thought you were desperate to start your uni course. I thought I was too. My year out was going well. I enjoyed my time working in London, but being in the Scottish Highlands is the best experience ever. You have to come and visit me. Absolutely, although I'm not sure when that will be. Graham, the guy who runs the place, is the nicest boss ever. The work is brilliant, and when things are quiet, the staff are always playing pranks on each other. It's my dream workplace. There are a couple of other female instructors, Grace and Anne. They're not sure of their long-term plans, but they'll all be at Braid Hope for at least another year. Knowing they'll still be there was a big part of my decision to stay. You would love them. It sounds like you've found your perfect setting. I sighed, happy for Rebecca, but selfishly wishing she wasn't so far away. She yawned and flopped back onto her bed. Sorry, sis, I am exhausted. I didn't get much sleep in the overnight bus. I can't believe you're still awake. Sleep. You'll catch up more over the next few days. The following morning, I tiptoed from my room, trying to sneak out without waking Rebecca. Gran was in the kitchen, enjoying a cup of tea. I raced over to her and hugged her, trying not to trip over Benji, as he came rushing towards me for a cuddle. Gran snuggled into my hug. Did you sleep well in your own bed, or did you and your sister talk the night away? I laughed as I walked over to switch on the kettle. No, Rebecca was exhausted from her hours of travel. We slept. She's still sleeping. I looked around the kitchen. Where are Mum and Dad? At the campsite. Your mum's working on a new idea. Stephanie, Liz' niece, is going to be putting on afternoon teas in and around Eden Cove, including the campsite. It will be next year before they put on the first campsite afternoon tea, but it gave your mum the idea of organising a family fun afternoon. Your mum and dad are making their last minute plans as we speak. Really? Gran nodded. You know what your mum's like. She's completely on board with the idea and walking about the place, making up songs about family fun days and camping. So when is the fun day? 2 weeks tomorrow. Wow, that's fast. I sat at the table with Gran, hugging my mug of tea. And what have you been up to while Mum's been in party planning mode? Gran chuckled, then told me all about her latest knitting project and the lengthening walks around Sycamore Street. She glanced at her watch. Good gracious, look at the time. Sorry, Naomi, I need to love you and leave you. BB has invited me to number 6 for a morning cuppa. And with that, she cleared her things from the table and waved goodbye. With no one else downstairs, I decided to change, then go for a walk. Gentle rain stirred the delicious scents of summer earth, roses and lavender as I walked through our garden. I took the path that meandered through the trees, peeking out from between the pines at the campsite. I knew Lewis wasn't there, but I still wanted to check. The closed curtains of his caravan confirmed his absence. Mum and Dad's voices carried on the breeze as they enjoyed an animated conversation with campers. I turned and walked to the beach. By the time I reached the promenade, the rain had stopped, but with the cloudy skies, it was quiet for an August morning. A few families with young children were dotted around. Instead of sitting, I wandered to the lighthouse and paused at the carved cross. I traced the outline with my index finger, then turned to look out to sea. Was I merely creating a new drama by worrying that I couldn't see Lewis before I left Eden Cove? I watched the dinghy class taking place close to the shore, the little boats manoeuvring around the structure like ducklings staying close to their mother. How often had I stood here and looked out to sea? How often had I wondered about the carving on the lighthouse? Countless times over the last 15 years. And yet this summer felt more significant than previous ones. It had been a strange few months, all the stress and worry about my exam, a summer with Gran to learn from her wisdom, a reminder to be thankful. I was thankful for times like this, to come to the lighthouse and think, time to be still and look beyond my own worries. My relationship with Mum had improved this summer too. We seemed to have discovered how to communicate with one another. Not only talk, but listen. It was nice. And then there was Lewis. He challenged me in a good way, but he also infuriated me. And now he was gone. I had to find a way to let go of the disappointment. Turning back to the lighthouse, I traced the outline of the cross. Jesus, help me get through this disappointment and help Lewis with whatever he is dealing with. The next few days with Rebecca flew by. We were inseparable, working together at the campsite, spending our afternoons and evenings with Ellen, sitting in the garden or on the beach. The busyness of our days helped combat the void left by Lewis. Rebecca's presence restored our family to its full strength. I knew when she returned to Scotland, I would miss her more than ever. And then it was time to hug Rebecca goodbye. With promises to travel to Scotland, I waved her off at the bus stop. Back home, Gran patted my hand. You'll see Rebecca again in no time. I leaned my head against her shoulder. I don't think I'll get the chance to see her before Christmas. Hopefully she'll be able to come home then. Otherwise, I might not see her until after my finals in May. The following week, I walked into the campsite office just in time to hear Mum say, "Take care, Lewis." That was Lewis, she said as she placed her phone on the counter. I walked over to the tourist information leaflets and pretended to tidy them up, not fooling either of us with my attempt at playing the disinterested party. "How's he doing?" Mum sighed and I turned my attention from leaflets to Mum. "Poor Lewis, things haven't been going well with his dad. He's not going to be able to come back to Eden Cove, other than to collect the rest of his belongings." Once again, a rush of emotions were vying for my attention. I had so many questions. What's happened? Why isn't he coming back? Aren't you annoyed he's left you before the end of the season? The situation with his dad is worse than he anticipated. Did he tell you what happened? Mum shook her head. Not really. But he told you something? Not much. And all he told me was his dad was in a worse condition than he'd imagined, and he couldn't leave his aunt to deal with him on her own. I paced up and down the small office. Surely he must have told you more than that. Mum shook her head. Then how can you be so okay with him not coming back and leaving you early? Instead of continuing with the conversation, Mum merely directed me out to the toilet block in her mundane task of the morning. As I worked my annoyance at Lewis gathered strength. The frustrated energy that went through my mop probably resulted in the best clean I'd ever given the bathroom floor. I was angry at Lewis for leaving Mum before the end of the season, and I was angry at him for not getting in touch with me. By the afternoon, my thoughts were spiralling ever further. Now that I knew Lewis wasn't coming back, how could I leave? Mum would be understaffed at the campsite. Should I stay to help? Last week I thought I'd come to terms with the campsite, moving on from my negative attitude to it. But here I was being tested already. Guilt was kneading my shoulders, bringing the familiar tightness and strain. Trying to work through my emotions was getting me nowhere. I walked to the lighthouse, the best place to realign my perspective. Standing at the base of the lighthouse reminded me of the evening walks with Ellen and Lewis. It reminded me of our last night at the beach. I closed my eyes and prayed. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Taking it out, I looked at the caller ID. Lewis. I was tempted to ignore his call. What was there to say? He had stuff he was figuring out, and I needed to work out what to do about the job in Reading. And yet, instead of just ignoring his call, my finger reached out to the screen and accepted it. When I heard his hello, I remained silent, tempted to hang up. Please don't hang up, Naomi, his voice pleaded through the phone. I want to explain myself before I come back for my stuff, and to make sure I'll get the chance to see you. My lack of response was all the encouragement he needed to continue. I'm sorry I took off while you were away. I'm sorry I didn't get in touch. I sighed and he paused. Has your mum told you what's happened? No, only that things with your dad are worse than you expected. Silence. Were both of us waiting for the other to speak? I'm sorry, Naomi. That night on the beach when I told you my story, I left part of it out. I told you Dad's mental health suffered because of my mum's death, but for Dad that also involved turning to alcohol. Shame caught my breath. All this time, he'd been dealing with a heartbreaking family crisis while I'd been assuming the worst about him, imagining he'd left Mum in the lurch while he was caring for his father. I was having a sob about a temporary summer job. I cringed, glad he was on the other end of the phone and not able to see me. He continued. I don't want to dwell on that. I wanted you to know. His voice cracked and he paused. Like I said, my aunt took him to stay with her for the summer so I could work at the campsite and get away from everything. He's been in and out of rehab several times since I was young, and he's been sober for the last 2 years. But he found a bottle of vodka at my aunt's house, a bottle she didn't even remember having, and he decided it would be a good idea to drink the lot in one sitting. He ended up in the hospital. I couldn't leave my aunt to deal with him on her own and do all the visiting. How did you respond to that? I'm sorry, Naomi. Can you forgive me? Why are you the one asking me for forgiveness? It's me who should be saying that. I was mad at you for not letting me know you were leaving, and all the while you were the one dealing with so much. I'm sorry. Silence. Was there anything more to say? Lewis sighed. You only thought that because I took off without letting you know why. I was the one who held back all summer. I hope it's not too late to ask you this, Naomi. I held my breath. Will I see you when I come next week for the rest of my belongings? Of course. When the call ended, I looked once again at the carving on the cross and prayed for Lewis. Today was the day of the family fun afternoon, my last day at Eden Cove for the summer, a chance to make things right with Lewis. Mum and Dad were busy laying out snacks and activities. Joshua had been roped into leading several of the games, a task he seemed exceedingly excited about. Dad had purchased a colourful garden sail to attach to some trees. Coming out over 3 picnic tables were packets of crisps and fun-sized sweets and chocolate bars were arranged on colourful plates. Cans of juice sat cooling in a vat of ice water. The one thing that was beyond their control was the weather. The morning had been hot and sunny, which should have been good, but between last night's rain and the heavy clouds hanging in the windless sky, the humidity levels were nasty. The forecast predicted a storm, but the weather presenter had been uncertain about when and where it would reach shore. It might stay dry, but who can tell with British weather? While I was happy to spend the day helping Mum and Dad, that annoying pang of guilt still gripped my stomach. Mum assured me it was fine, that they would cope without me at the campsite. Gran assured me it was fine, reminding me that Mum managed the campsite without me for much of the year. Mercifully, Mum didn't say too much about Lewis or his planned appearance today. I didn't know when he would arrive, but the thought of seeing him again had my stomach clenching, then flipping. My poor stomach, how would I get through this afternoon? The campsite was full, and most of the campers had readily accepted the invitation to the fun afternoon. Families took up their positions around the tables and the picnic rugs. Some came with their own camping chairs. I arranged mats and toys for the younger children. Ellen had volunteered to help. I was grateful my best friend was beside me, her arm wrapped around my shoulders. How are you? I nodded. Okay. She gave me a reassuring smile. I know you're not, but I'm here for you, whatever happens. I let out a breath I hadn't realised I was holding, her words of friendship relaxing my shoulders and the tension in my neck. Why was I getting so worked up about someone I barely knew? Boys. As campers settled and Joshua began the first football game, I glanced up and there he was, Lewis. His smile sought me out and I couldn't help but return his smile, even as my stomach flipped once more.